All right, teams, players, specifically talking to all the Jets fans out there doing the breakdown of the Jets. And to me, Bob, obviously, biggest additions, Aaron Rodgers. Let's not bury the lead here. But I don't think that's the reason this team's going to win. And I do think this team's going to win. I do not see them coming in last in their division. I think there's an outside chance they win this division. And it's not because of Rodgers. It's because of that defense. That defense kept them in so many games last year that their offense should have written off. I mean, just looking at week 17, they knew they weren't in the playoffs, and they still held Miami to 9 points.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. And that is, again, I think the Jets are going far this year. I think that they are, if they're not winning their division, they're certainly a wild card team. I mean, obviously, I'm expecting Hall to be healthy and back, which might be a lot to ask for, given his injury and when he had it. But there is just Rodgers can win with bad receivers. He's proven that before. He also has turned average receivers into the greatest show on turf. And look at Adams' stats in Vegas if you want to dispute that. So
I wouldn't call Adams average.
He was above average, but he made him elite. He took Adams 2 steps higher. And if you can do that across the board, because I'm expecting a major regression out of the Green Bay receivers this year, if you do that across the board, he's taken below average receivers, which is mostly the Jets receiving core, and takes them to good with this running back and this defense, you're talking about a 13-win team.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm starting with the Jets.
To be honest with you,
playing the third place schedule, nonetheless.
To be honest with you, if we're ranking the teams today, if we're ranking all the teams in the league today, Eagles, Chiefs, Bengals, Jets.
Oh, putting the Jets ahead of San Francisco and the Bills.
I will get blasted for this 100% of the time, but I hate Aaron Rodgers. You know this. I know this. But the biggest problem with the New York Jets last year was quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
And the biggest thing that is now not the problem is the quarterback. And we have said
about having a broken hand again.
Even a broken-handed Aaron Rodgers is better than any quarterback that they played on their roster last year.
Touche.
Now, you pair him with a talent like Wilson. You brought over Mecole Hardman, who we both love. And you brought back Allen Lazard for him. And they didn't lose anybody. And this is the thing about it. They went out there and got a ton of people, and they didn't lose anybody.
And they did it the right way.
You look at who their biggest key additions were. Quincy Williams, or signings and additions. Quincy Williams, Hardman, Lazard, Chuck Clark, and Thomas Morstead. Their biggest losses, Elijah Moore, not a loss. Sheldon Rankins, okay. Mike White, not a loss. Dan Feeney, guard, okay. But Aaron Rodgers is a generational player. He's a player that we all know. And despite my hatred for him, the Jets team last year had arguably the best defense in football outside of the Eagles. And you look at what they did last year, they didn't get worse this year. So I am only assuming that they're going to play at the same level that they played at last year. And if they can hold teams to 6 points, or they can hold teams to 13 points, Rodgers can score 20.
Oh, easily, yeah.
He can score 20 with Wilson. He can score 20 with Lazard and Mecole Hardman. Now, the only way that the Jets don't come out of this division as the leader is if injuries happen. If they get injured or Aaron Rodgers starts to hurt himself again, then we're going to see a backslide.
Either physically or mentally, because both are on the table for him.
We're going to see a backslide in the Jets. Their ceiling, for me, is AFC Championship game.
Oh,
their ceiling for me is
even winning in Kansas City, because they got a pass rush.
I think that this defense, if we're talking about best things to worst things, their defense is better than, I would say, if you look at their schedule, It's better than Oakland's offense. It's better than the Commanders' offense.
Well, the Jets' defense
better
will be
than
the
the
best
Giants'
unit on the
offense.
field in 3/4 of their games.
Yeah, it's better than most of the NFC East offenses other than the Eagles, and it's better than most offenses.
Oh, it'll be a good matchup.
So I see as their only potential losses here in their whole schedule, maybe Dallas, Eagles, Chiefs, Chargers. Those are the 4 teams that I think that they could lose to this year.
They're not sweeping the Bills.
Outside of, one of the Bills. So that's 5 losses. To me, you're
12-win team.
You're looking at 12 wins. That's good enough for the top third of the league, if not better, depending on how things shake out. And that's good enough to be the champion in your division. And so the only way the thing for the Jets is this hump of the Buffalo Bills. Did they do enough to get them better than the Buffalo Bills? Yes, they did. They added Aaron Rodgers. I mean, they could stop Allen with their defense. That the problem was they couldn't score. Well, now you have the potential to score, and then you add in Breece Hall. And if Breece Hall can work in the same capacity that he did last year, and he works well with Aaron Rodgers, shut up. Game over. Because Breece Hall was the most explosive player that we watched last year for a lot of games. And Garrett Wilson is an explosive level of talent as well. And they added pieces. And like you said, they did it in a way that made sense. But the thing is, even if things go haywire, we still can fall back on Wilson and see them fail over and over and over again because Wilson is still on this team. And so...
Yeah, that's going to be a train wreck, right? Like, there's no way around that, right?
The only thing we can hope for is if Aaron Rodgers is not going to be with the Jets for a long time, then Aaron Rodgers can teach him the right kind of crazy that can make him win games. That's the only way that that's going to work out. But I will tell you that in my mind, and it's hopeful, and I think Jets fans will be hopeful this season because where else are you going to go but be hopeful for the Jets this season? This team is a top 5 team.
Yeah,
on paper.
And we look at, I mean, obviously the Rodgers trade is the big deal. And when we go to their draft, obviously they're getting a lot of things thrown at them for not really making the greatest first round selection. You kind of not miss on them. But to me, it just seemed like they wanted Jones. Everyone knew they wanted Jones. And then when Jones wasn't there, they panicked. But to get an edge rusher, granted, from Iowa State, you went through all the reasons you don't draft talent from Iowa. I get that. But ESPN still has him graded out as an 89. It's not like he's going to be an instant bust. And I like getting Wisconsin offensive linemen. I don't care what position they are. Wisconsin offensive linemen, seal of approval, baby. So the center they got in the second round is there. The developmental guy from Pitt that they got at tackle makes a lot of sense. It's a 4th round, so if he makes the team, great. If not, it's a 4th rounder. But the thing I like about their draft, I think probably too much, and this is me already turning my fantasy hat on, they might have gotten the best handcuff running back for what they are. They got the speedster from Pitt, who, granted, one-trick pony, fair. But when you have an Aaron Rodgers offense, assuming that they're going to be playing vertical style like they did in Green Bay, and we know Hartman can rip the top off, all you need is a little crack. And when you have a speedster in that kind of offense, those cracks exist because the safeties need to be back. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're through, and you used to be averaging 4 yards on this play. Now you're averaging 8. And that's how you can really open up gashes in the running game. He is not a runner like Aaron Jones. He is a speed. Don't touch me because I will fall, but I will get there fast. And that is exactly what the Jets want. And like I said, we'll obviously break this down when we get to the fantasy world. But he might be the first handcuff I take of all the handcuffing running backs. I'm really liking that situation.
And one of the things that outside of injury that could doom the Jets, outside of injury and mental health things that could doom the Jets, is that Aaron Rodgers doesn't develop a connection with Wilson. If Aaron Rodgers for some reason decides that he doesn't want to give the ball to Wilson and he wants to keep passing it to Lazard or he wants to keep passing it to Hardman, now not terrible options. But if he decides that he doesn't want to pass it to Wilson, you could see this offense sputter. And I think that Aaron Rodgers will recognize that, and the coaching staff will go, hey, yo, give the ball to our guy. We drafted him high. We want the ball in his hands. You are with us now. Please follow these directions. Like, it's kind of.
I don't think Saleh will bow down to Rodgers. I think that he's going to get a very rude culture shock that this isn't. We brought you here. We're in charge, not you. And
yeah, we brought
Bay,
you here because we brought you here because we think you give us the best chance to win. But we could have went out there and got somebody else.
Yeah, and also remember when you thought you were worth 4 first-round picks and we didn't even give 2 for you? Like, you're not as big as you think you are. You're playing in this system. And, you know, getting inside the mind of Aaron Rodgers is impossible and probably not really worth trying to figure out because when he wants to, he's the greatest team player ever. But when he doesn't, well, we've seen what happens there too. So, like I said, Bob, I think the Jets, and I've never felt this way since the franchise. I mean, this has been 20 years of them being just put them in last. They're gonna finish bad. Well, Miami sucks too, so maybe not last, but down at the bottom, they're gonna have a high draft pick. That's gonna be bad. This is alert time. Miami's the overrated team in the division. The Jets have a defense. The Jets are willing to run the ball, and it also covering the strategies of football in a lot of Green Bay's games last year. Do not give him a read pass option. Don't let him do it because he forced a lot of bad passes last year. And if they call just straight running plays, they'll be much better off for it. It was part of the reason that Aaron Jones and him was going to be a year that I wanted. But nonetheless, I'm so excited for this team. There's so many things they can do great. And, JETS, Jets.